Welcome to this webinar brought to you by Bursa Malaysia and managed by our company LifeCham. Our webinar title today is Behavioral Studies. Why do we invest differently from one another? My name is Shen Chu. I'm the moderator for this session. Now, have you ever wondered why some investors would buy a stock while some other investor would do the opposite to sell a stock, even when they both have access to the same information? And of course, the answer lies in our knowledge of the information and also our behavior. So we all invest very differently from one another. So given the same set of financial statement and charts, we may read and interpret it differently. So we may also let our emotions and behavioral biases to affect our investment decisions. So today we are going to understand what are the underlying reasons behind all these differences that can make all the difference in our investment strategy. Now, before we begin, as usual, disclaimer, whatever we share in this session is only for educational purpose. In no way that we give any recommendation for you to buy or sell any listed securities that we mentioned here. If you decide to make any investment decision, you're solely responsible for all your investment risk. Allow me to briefly introduce our speaker today. He is the content producer of kclao.com. He has written over 300 articles on kclao.com and also is a regular webinar host and presenter on kclao.com. He's also a co-founder of DividendVault, whereby he transformed newbies into investors who can build dividend portfolios independently via education. So it's none other than Mr. Ian Tai. So Ian, good evening. How are you today?
Good evening to you, Shane, and good evening to all of you guys. Yeah, it's always a privilege to be here doing this webinar session with Bursa Malaysia, and of course organized by LifeCham, Shane's company. And today we're going to have some fun, all right. Today's topic, because I used to actually do this, but it's actually more mathematics, more theory, application, and all this kind of stuff. So today we are going to do something more lighthearted, okay? So just relax, stay back, and just enjoy the whole session. Of course, if you have any questions along the way, just feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A box, okay? So right now, so for this session, right, we are going to talk about behavioral studies, and Shane has actually just give us a great introduction. And I'm going to just kick off this whole session, this whole series, right, with a series of warm-up questions. So guys, if you have a piece of paper right beside you, or if you have a smartphone right beside you, you may want to actually prepare, okay, your piece of paper or your smartphone, and so that you can actually jot down your answers so that we can actually keep track, and that will be very important for this session, okay? So please do that. So let's start off with the first warm-up question, shall we? So let's begin. Okay, so today's topic is about behavior studies. So let's start off with our first warm-up question. So the question is this, very simple. So guys, how do you usually choose a stock to invest or trade in? Okay, so I'm going to repeat the question. How do you usually choose a stock to invest or trade in? Now, there are 4 answers below, so I'm going to just read it out to you. You may type in the chat box, or you can actually just put it down on a piece of paper, or just put it in your smartphone, all right? So we have 4 answers. The first one, type in A if, let's say, you will actually choose a stock that has growth potential and the price is trending up. So if you are that kind of person, then you can just put in the chat box Q1A, okay? Now, the second answer will be B, saw it trending across social media online. So which means you have come across a certain stock, or you will actually purposely go to all kinds of social media platform to actually find out which stocks is actually in trend right now. So you will actually do that in order to choose your stocks to trade in or to invest in. So if you are B, then just type in Q1B. C is you will actually personally look for companies, big companies that are well established, okay? So which means to say you want to first know that, hey, this is a big company and very established. So if you are going to shop for stocks that way, then you type in Q1C. And the last one will be D, which means I'm going to actually look at financial statements, calculate the ratios, use valuation tools in order to help me to decide whether I should be investing or trading into certain stocks. So type in the chat box and put it down on a piece of paper. Let me know how do you go about it? Let me just see the response. Okay, so just choose one only. So Mundit Gangal, so you say Q1 ACD. Okay, just choose. So if you happen to be ACD, then you choose the one that most resonate with you. Okay, so like for example, Eugene Wong says Q1D. Okay, then you just type in Q1D. Ramli Mahat, so A. Chin Lik Xuan. Okay, so this one you choose between A and D, then you just between A and D choose one. Okay, just put it down. Wang Cheng A, Patrick A. Okay, Lik Xuan. Okay, so yours is A. Ong Hui Su Q1A, Kennedy Budak C. Okay, by Hari Sulaiman A, Adeline D, Stanley D, and TS Go D. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for your response. Let's move on to question number 2. Jot down your answers, so that you can actually keep track. This is very important. So whatever you have answered, just put that Q1 something. Put it somewhere, okay? We are going to move on to question number 2. Question number 2. What will you do when your stock falls by 10% this month? Okay, so put it down on the chat box or type it. You can put it in the chat box and smartphone or piece of paper. So if you are the type that is like do nothing, wait for it to recover, then you just put Q2A. B will be reassess its fundamentals and valuation. Q2C is you will actually, oh no, the stocks actually fall by 10%. Time to actually find your investment buddies. Say, what's going on? What's going on? If you're the kind of person who has the tendency to text people, what's going on? Then type in C. And finally, D. D is the type that you sell off and relocate your capital immediately. Means, forget it. Let's get it done and over with. So if you are D, just type in D, okay? So let's see the response. So Eugene says Q2B. Okay, fantastic. Alvin Wong, B. Eddie, B. Stanley, Q2A. Adeline, B. Eng Seng Hock, B. Lik Xuan, D. By Hari Sulaiman, B. Mundik Gangau, D. See all kinds of answers coming in. So Ong Hui Su says Q2A. Fantastic. Put it down on a piece of paper. We are going to move on to question number 3. So we have question number 3. I'm going to just ask you this question. A new investment app was launched recently. Okay, there's a brand new app, investment app that was launched recently. So what will you do? Type in Q3A if you are the type that says you will first understand its features and methodology behind it. You want to know how does this app actually work? All right, the features, how is it designed, and what kind of, how does it actually benefit you as an investor? You want to be very detailed about it. A. B means subscribe. Let's just test it out. Let's just give it a go. So Q3B is for you if you are the type that just, okay, let's just go to Google Play or Apple Store. Let's just download it and let's just try it out, test it out. Okay. Q3C. Oh, don't do anything first. Oh, it's a new app, don't do anything. Just stick to what you know first. If you are the type that will hold back and don't go and subscribe this new app, type in C. And last but not least, D. D is the type of people who will actually, is this app good? So let me just check Google reviews. Let's see what other people say first before we actually decide whether we should subscribe or not to subscribe. Okay. All right, so we are looking at a few. Eugene Wong says A, Stanley says C, Adeline A, Baihari A, Chin Lik Xuan C. Okay, Ong Hui Su, question 3C, Mundik Gangao A, Patrick Hall C, Kennedy Budak A. Okay, fantastic. Now, next, we have question 4. This will be the final question, and then we will tabulate the answers. And then from there, we see whether this whole behavior study works for you or not lah. Okay. So final question. Question number 4. When the stock that you bought rises by 50%, wow, what will you do? Q4A. Tell your friends how well is it doing. You will go to the kopitiam and say, "Hey guys, I have just bought a stock," and then he has actually grown by 50%. Wow. Okay, if you're that kind, Q4A, Q4B, you start to compute its PE ratio and dividend yield before deciding what you will be doing next. If you're the type that will, okay, let's take out the calculator and let's start calculating. B. C. Oh, 50% already. Okay lah. Time to take profit quickly and move on to the next stock. Okay, if you're that kind, type C. And if you are the final one, which is just hold on to its shares lah. Since it has risen, okay, let's just hold it, chill, relax, don't do nothing about it. If you are the type that then you just say Q4D. Okay, let's see the response. Eugene. Okay, compute its PE and dividend yield before deciding. Okay. Next one, take profit quickly. Move on to the next stock. Mundik Gagal, same as well. Adeline, B. Okay. Stanley, C. Eng Seng Hock, B. Baihari, D. Hui Su, Q4D. Patrick Hall, D. Okay, fantastic. Kennedy Buddha, D. Fantastic. Thank you so much for this wonderful wonderful responses. Okay, now it's time to actually collectively look at the whole picture and let's see whether or not it resonates with you well lah. Okay, now the whole purpose of this exercise is this. Just now your answers, right? Your answers to the 4 questions that we have just participated will somewhat review or will reflect to a certain extent your own personal, including myself, behavior, traits, and personalities. These are actually your inherent traits. So different people will have different behaviors, different traits, and memang different personalities lah. Okay? And because of these traits, which are unique to us, that's why all of us will have our own pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, things that we can actually do naturally very well, and things that, you know, sometimes we actually kind of like struggle with lah. Okay, so the answers to the 4 questions somehow reveal that. Now let's take a look at each and every single one of them one by one. Now, just a show of hands, how many of you have come across this book in a bookstore, or how many of you have actually purchased this book and you have read it? If you have read this book, Surrounded by Idiots, type in the chat box, let me know, okay, that you have actually read it before. So Albert Wong says no. Eugene Wong says come across but didn't read. Probably will. Okay, fantastic. All right. Kennedy Buddha says no. Right. So personally, I find that this book it has been quite visible in all the major bookstores in Malaysia, like Popular Bookstore, Kinokuniya, MPH. You can actually go to the bookstore and get the latest copy lah. All right. But then of course I come from a perspective as a reader. So that's actually it's just one of those books that I like to read, and then I find it very interesting. Okay. So the only people who actually bought it is by Hari Sulaiman. Okay. The rest of you guys haven't yet. For me, I think I kind of enjoy this book a lot lah. And it's actually because of this book, it kind of like made me reflect as an investor lah. Like, why is it that I will invest in a certain way, and why is it that when things happen, I tend to actually react in a certain manner, and how I react to a certain extent, right? It also depends on what are my behaviors, traits, and personalities, and which is actually kind of like summarized between these 4 people over here, with 4 different colors: red, yellow, green, and blue. Okay. So that is actually how this webinar session came about lah. All right. Now let's take a look. So not exactly the book content, but actually this one you can Google it up. So according to behavioral studies, right, what I have learned is that there are 4 different types of behavior or 4 different types of traits. Okay, so we have these 4. These 4 are the core. Okay, sometimes we have our primary core. Sometimes we also, apart from our primary core, we also have our secondary core. Okay, but the primary one is actually something which is a little bit more, how I say, more apparent lah than the secondary one. So let's just take a look. The first one is actually dominance. The second one is influence. The third one would be conscientiousness. Being very concise lah, okay? And the final one will be steadiness. Now let's take a look. Now, just participate with me. Type in the chat box. Okay, type in the chat box. What are the keywords? What are the keywords that are often associated with people who are dominant? Okay. What are the keywords do you think that they are often associated with people that you come across who are dominant? Type in the chat box. Let me know. Okay, so we're gonna have a lot of fun today. So we have Albert. So Albert says stubborn. Okay, stubborn. That could, you can also say determined. It's probably a blurred line between the two. Eugene Wong says leader. Eddie says dictator. Albert Wong says don't listen to others. Eun Seng Hock says stubborn. Control freak. Loud. Big-headed. My neighbor's uncle. Leader Trump. Oh gosh. All right. So that is actually, so that's the case. Bahari Sulaiman, leader, bossy. Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for your response. Let's see whether how many of these words are actually attached to, I would say pretty much most of them are kind of like attached to the word dominance. But let's see. So these are some of the keywords that are being associated with people who are actually of a dominant character. Okay. So there are some, like for example, power. So when it comes to power and leader, so which means people who are bossy, people who are in the leadership, people who have leadership qualities, can be a bit big-headed, loud, control freak. Yes, control is actually part of the whole traits of someone who is actually of dominance. But some things which are actually less talked about is actually this. People who are dominant, they tend to value certain things, like they are very results orientated, they are very efficient, fast-paced. Of course, they demand some power, some control, but you can also say that they are very decisive. They can see something, you tell them something, they just make a quick decision. Okay. They value action. All right. Action speaks louder than words. This is something that they value. They're very direct people. They just go straight to the point because they're results orientated, very efficient, very fast paced, no time to beat the bush, get to the point, straight to the point, right? So that is actually who they are. And because of their natural attributes, they tend to be an independent worker. They can think independently. They are leaders and they can be bosses. All right. So people with these attributes, yeah. So these are actually attributes attributed to people with dominance. This sort of character. Now let's take a look at the questions. Now let's see the answers. Okay. So take a look at people who are dominant. Now look at the answers that you have received. So let's say for question 1. For question 1, if you are the person who type A, for question 2, you are the person who type D, For the person who, and also for the third question, if you happen to type B, and the fourth question, if you happen to type C, then if 4 out of 4, you dapat lah, okay? Question 1A, question 2 D, question 3 B, question 4 C, then you know that you are, in a way, you have that kind of traits, okay? You have that kind of traits. You have this dominant personality, leader, independent thinker, efficient, result-oriented. All these actually are your natural attributes, okay? Once again, let's just acknowledge that each and every single traits and behaviors, they have a role to play, okay? They have a role to play in a society, and there's definitely each and every single one have their pros and cons, but here I'm going to just focus on investment, okay? How people with these traits deal with investments, okay? Now let's take a look. What makes someone actually, when it comes to question question 1, they will answer A. This is simply because if you take a look at some keywords here, growth. Growth is actually a word that relates to results. Trending up. Trending up means the price is moving up. Hey, I got no time, no patience to actually wait for the price suddenly to actually go up. It's now trending up. So I have this impatience. It's trending up, it's good. Let's do it. So that's how they actually answer. For question 2, the keyword here is actually immediately, which means say sell off, relocate your capital immediately. Don't need to think so much. Just do it immediately. Speed. Okay. That is actually question 2. Now, question 3. If you are the type that says subscribe, new app coming up. Let's just subscribe, test it out. No need to think too much. Just subscribe, get it done. All right. That's actually decisiveness. And the fourth one, if you happen to answer C, take profit quickly. Stock price go up by 50%. Take profit quickly. Don't need to think too much. Quickly we act. Quickly we take profit. And then we move on to the next stock. No wishy-washiness. Get it done quickly. So if you happen to be that kind, so that's how you answer lah. Okay. So just take a note. If all these things resonate with you, then yes, most likely you are a person with that sort of character dominance. All right. So with that, let's move on to the next one. Type in the chat box for those of you guys who if you happen to come across people who have this trait, which is influential. So what are the keywords that are often associated with people who are influential? Anyone? So people who are influential, what kind of words tend to associate with people who are influential? So Eugene Wong, charismatic, nice. BJ, outgoing, yes. Ong Hui Su, persuasive, yes. Chin Lee Swan, position. So position, maybe you want to clarify more about position. Ng Seng Hock, self-confident. Yeah. People who can influence are people who are self-confident, definitely. Yes. So I agree with charisma. I agree with outgoing. I agree with persuasiveness. I also agree with self-confidence. Now, let me just share with you more keywords that are associated to people who are influential. Okay. Kennedy Buddha, outgoing. Yes, it is. So let's see who are these people, people who are influential. The first one is people who are enthusiastic, which means they say, wow, they are very pumped up. People who are very pumped up, nice. And people who are influential, they tend to have self-confidence. And of course, with self-confidence, they love to go out there, present themselves, and they tend to be very well-connected. Influential people, they tend to be very well-connected. And recognition, people who are, of course, as human beings, we love to be recognized. But for people who are influential, they tend to take it to the next level. So these are people who actually love to be recognized and they tend to value recognition a lot. Optimistic, charismatic, yes. These are people who are also, they value relationship. Relationship is actually very key. So sometimes when you talk about stuff, all right, is it the relationship that matters or is it the matter that matters? So it's the relationship. For people who are influential, the relationship is actually more important. Okay. For people who are influential, the words often speak a lot louder than their actions. That's unfortunately them in their trait. Influential people tend to be a bit more spontaneous, a bit more random, a bit more ad hoc. So that is actually them. And they can be also quite sociable, very people-orientated. Okay, so let's see how you answer. Now, let's see influential. How many of you kind of like answer this? Can you see that question 1? There's an answer, all right? Saw it trending across social media online. So what is social media? Social media is actually about people, about community. Same goes with, oh, if my stock actually falls by 10% this month, what to do? The first thing that they will call is actually their friends, investment buddies. Okay, so it's actually once again about people. How about the app? Should I download the app? Maybe they will check Google reviews. All right, they will check out Google reviews and to find out whether or not people are validating the Google, whether people are validating the social app. So that is actually people who have this kind of traits, they tend to actually do that. They will seek validation. Like, is this a good stock to buy? They tend to like seek validation. It's very unlike people who are dominant. They can think for themselves, say, no, I don't need other people's opinion. But for people who are influential, they tend to people lah. Okay, people is actually very important. Last but not least, tell your friends how well it is doing. This is often the case when you find lah. Okay, there are people who buy stocks, they kind of like make profits. Okay, so time for them to actually toot their own horn lah and share it with the world lah. All right, how good their purchases are. So these are actually people of that trade. Of course, along the way, when we answer the 4 questions, right, I don't see a lot of people answering these 4 lah. So so with that, we are gonna just skip to the next behavior, next trait, next personality. So let's take a look at the next one. Steadiness. Okay, steadiness. Now type in the chat box if you happen to find someone who is steady, who is stable. What are the keywords that are often associated with people who are steady and people who are stable? So Stanley says calm. Ong Hui Su says calm. Eugene says what? Level-headed. Eddie Wong, slow talker. Bahari Sulaiman, cool. Confidence. Albert, nutcase. Kennedy Budak, cool. David Yong, confident. Eun Seng Hock, authoritative. People are stable. Ching Lik Swan, knowledgeable. Well, some of you are actually on the right direction. So with that, let's move on to the next one. So people who are steady, people who are stable. Let's see. Down to earth. Let's take a look. So there are many characteristics that are actually quite similar to what has been typed on the chat box. Let's take a look. So these are people who are, let's see, cool. Cool means what? Peaceful, harmonious. All right. Make peace. All right. People who are stable, they tend to be very helpful, don't they? All right. They tend to be very helpful. You ask them for help, they sure help you one. Okay. These people, their nature is to help people. All right. They like people, they help people, they want to be very supportive. They want to be very dependable. They will go all out, do the extra mile to actually ensure that the help is actually being delivered to the people who needed help. All right. So these are people who are very helpful, very dependable, stable. Okay, these are people who are very patient. So these are actually attributes related to people who are steady. Okay, steady. Now, these people can also be very conservative, which means to say they don't necessarily want to rock the boat. They are not going to be the leader who say, come, let's do something together. Let's change the world. Let's let's brainstorm new ideas and let's pursue that new idea. And for people who are steady, they tend to play a more supportive role, a more supportive, more understanding, very much consensus-like kind of a leadership. They tend to actually try not to rock the boat so much. So conservatism, safety, security is something that people who have these attributes will value. Like Kennedy Budak says, team player. Yes, they are not the team captain, but they are a team player for sure. All right, for sure they are team players. All right. Now let's take a look at the answers. Let's see how you have fared, how you have fared. Now, take a look at Q1. So for people who answered C, Q1C, take a look at your own answers and see whether you got it right. For Q1C, they tend to look for big companies that are well established. Why well established? Safety, security, stability. Q2A, these people tend to become, oh, what happened? The stock market actually, the stock price actually dropped by 10%. Relax lah, cool, calm, do nothing. Just wait for it to recover. No worries, okay? Life goes on. So people who are steady, they tend to be a bit more patient. Q3, got a new app, how? Don't do anything. Just stick to what you know currently. Just stick to what you are doing currently. So they like routine stuff. They like the same old lah. Let's put it that way. If something is working, just keep carrying on lah. Okay, don't actually dive into the new ideas. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. If the wheel is working and it's working fine, why break it? So that's actually people who are steady. Okay. Now finally, so we have a burung hantu. So if you happen to find people who are concise, okay, what are the keywords that are often associated with people who are concise? Type in the chat box. Let me know. What do you think about this group of people? Okay, so we have BJ. BJ says thoughtful. Thoughtful means people who tend to think, correct? Ng Wen Hui, insightful, brain, okay? Wisdom, brain. Who else? Responsible, okay. So Eugene Wong says justice. Justice, I say that, which means to say they tend to value right from wrong. Okay, I'm doing this morally right. Have to do things right. Concise, yes, it can be done. Ng Sing Hong, humble. More definition on that. Kennedy Budak, analytical, yes. Brain again. Ong Hui Su, moral. Okay, so which means they just play by the book, follow the rules, obey the law, that kind of stuff, yes. Bahari Sulaiman, smart. Details. Details, correct. BJ, honesty, responsibility, integrity. Okay, so let's take a look how many of you hit it right. Some of you are actually in the right direction already. Let's take a look. So one of you guys say, okay, Kennedy Budak says analytical, correct. All right. So there are people who say details, correct. So detail oriented is there. So we have moral, means moral, I believe that it is actually a word where you use it to actually describe, oh, it's not just about the intention, you just have to do it like right. There's right and wrong. You kind of like have that kind of separation. So yes, that actually works. All right. So you can see that these are actually the keywords that are associated to people who are more concise, logical, analytical, precise, methodological, which means to say these people they need, oh, step one, step two, step three. I need a plan. Okay. I need a game plan. I need to be strategic about it. I need to formulate some rules. I need structure. I need processes. I need plan. So these people then also can be very cautious. So these are actually the people who have structure, prim and proper, systemization, that kind of people. Now let's see how many of the questions, how the 4 questions, right, how you answer will reveal to you whether or not you are one who is actually quite concise. All right, so let's take a look at the answers. Now I see that some of you guys are actually very concise people. So let's say, for example, question 1, how do you look for stocks? You tend to be ones who will look at financial statements, ratios, and valuation tools. So which means to say people who are like, people who want, I want the facts. I want I want the facts. I want I want the data. I want the data. I want the facts. I want the figures. I want the documentation. I want to study through and sleep on all the facts and figures before I make decision. If you are that kind of person, then most likely you will hit Q1D. Now, Q2B, stock price drop, how? Okay, I go back to my rule book. Let's assess the stock's fundamentals first, then only the valuation. I got step 1, fundamentals. Step 2, valuation. So you have your own rules and you have your own methods of processing this whole incident. Okay, so if you happen to be that, B. If Q3A, oh, new app, how? You will want to understand how it works and the methodology behind it. All right. So you're not going to say yes or no to the app. You're just going to find out how does this app started? What is the logic? What is the logical explanation for this bunch of founders or this bunch of developers building this app? You want to know how it works. Okay, so that's you. Actually, Eugene, yeah, in a way, yeah, you can see that all the questions are aligned. Oh, Q1D, Q2B, Q3A, Q4B. Four out of 4 questions you hit all. Yeah, you can say that you are quite that personality, lor. Q4B is where, okay, stock price go up by 50%. You still want to calculate. You still want to calculate the PE ratio, dividend yield before deciding your next course of action. So you tend to calculate. You tend to be very conscious, very cautious. So that's you lah. Okay. Now, here's the question. Okay. Who is better? Who is better suited to be a successful investor? Is it people with a dominant character, the leader type, independent thinker, results orientated, fast paced, efficient? Is it this group of people that they are best suited to be a good investor? Or is it people with influence? All right, people who are very people oriented, relationship building, people who need validation from other people. They tend to actually look at all these human relations, human aspects of the investment before they make decision. Is it people with influence that will do well in investing? Or is it the steady one? Relax, calm, all right? Quiet confidence, be cool, like a cucumber, relax, sabar, that kind of personality. Are this group of people good in investing? And last but not least, people who are concise. Methods, logic, analyze here, analyze there. What do you think, guys? Who do you think has an edge again? Who do you think has an edge in investing? Bahari says a combination of those characters. Okay, so wow. How do you actually combine? Have you, so Stanley says mixed bag. Okay. Anyone else? How many of you feel that you're off? Okay, by the way, just want to know, all right, how many of you have actually identified your own personality? If you are the type that say, oh, after this exercise, I kind of like know better where I stand, you can type in what is your personality type, just for fun. Just put it in a chat box, let me know, okay? So I'm gonna just read out the comments from all of you guys. Let's see how it works. So for David Young, he says, okay, if you want to be a value investor, you need to be concise. If you're a trader, you need steadiness. Okay. Eng Seng Hock says, maybe your case is you are more concise as a person. TK, you are more in this steadiness category. Phil says, if you are into trading, then you should be then most likely you are a dominant kind of a personality. Okay. So people who are concise, investing. Okay. Now over here, I'm gonna just share with you guys for each trade, no good, no bad. So Kennedy Budak, yeah, I can have a sense of feel that you are more towards this. You're a cool guy, steadiness. So right now, what I'm gonna do next is this. Maybe some of you guys have already identified. Okay, as long as out of the 4 questions, 3 of them should point to your behavior. If you get 3 out of 4 correct, or 4 out of 4 correct, then that could be your primary call lah. Okay. So you kind of like know yourself already. Now I'm going to go through each and every single one of them just to see what are the pros and cons for your trade when it comes to investing. Okay. Now let's get on with it. Now, for those of you who are dominant, so these are the pros and cons lah. Okay. I'm going to just list it down briefly because you are one of those people who want fast pace. You want straight to the point, right? So let's do this. Dominant people, pros, objective very clear. Okay. You know at the back of your mind what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. Very good. You are very decisive, not wishy-washy. Very good. You are confident. You don't really need other people's opinion. Even better, you can decide for yourself what kind of stock you want to buy, at what price, and when you want to buy. All these things you decide, you control. All right. You don't need other people to tell you what to do. Very good. And the 4th one is, if you happen to lose money in the stock market, you don't cry over spilled milk. You don't cry over spilled milk. You don't cry over losses. You just say, okay, I cut loss, cut clean. Let's get it done and let's move on to the next the next investment, the next chapter of life. That's people who are dominant. Okay. You don't actually look towards the past. You tend to actually look towards what's gonna be in for me for the future. That's the pro. Cons, because you are fast-paced, you tend to decide things too quickly. So what happens is that, as you can see, a lot of people says if you have a dominant trade, you tend to do trading. All right. A lot of people associate traders with people who are more dominant of that sort of characteristics. And the cons can be over trading because you kind of like decide, okay, this one good one, let's get in. This one bad one, let's get out. So there's a lot of frequent buying and selling, which is not too good lah if you are actually building an investment portfolio. Okay, because you tend to make decisions too quickly. That's number 1. Number 2, greater volatility and speculation. So what happened is that greater volatility means to say you like some action. When the stock market goes up and down, you like it because inside you have this blood lah. Actually, dominant people are people who are willing to take risks lah. So you kind of like accept that, okay, this stock is not perfect fundamentally, it's going up and down, or still okay. As long as I think it's okay lah. Let's get in and let's get it done. So this kind of thing can be a plus point, but it can be a negative point when it comes to investing. So it depends on how you want to calibrate this. Speculation is there. The 3rd one, impatience. Because you want it fast, you got no patience to actually read financial statements. So you don't like to do research, you don't like to study. You just like a summary, all right? This talk, I just know this. Okay, let's conclude, let's make a decision. Last but not least, overconfidence. Overconfidence means because of your ability to decide for yourself, it can be a little bit harder for you guys to actually not learn from other people who are more successful. All right. Maybe you have that kind of trait. Okay. So that's why a lot of people, when it comes to starting off with what is the trademark of people who are dominant, the first one is stubborn. So overconfidence can be it. Unwillingness to actually learn can also be part of that cons lah. So when you have this kind of personality, it doesn't mean that you are too confident, you won't learn from other people. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you have that tendency, then you must have some self-awareness that, oh, maybe lah, okay, maybe it's true lah. I should actually reflect. That will be a good starting point. Okay. Overall, for people who are dominant, slow down. When it comes to investing or building an investment portfolio, slow down. Slow down can be the new fast, which means slow down can be profitable for you. Consider that. Next, we're going to look at people who are influential. Not many, I don't see any too much of influential people here today. So I'm just going to go through this very quickly. For people who are of this trait, influential, the pros is that they are very curious. They are very open-minded to new ideas, very curious, okay? And the pros is that they are very good in networking. And because they are very good in networking, they are very likable, very sociable, and you just like to hang around with people who have this kind of trait lah. So if you happen to find someone like this, and if these people happen to find or befriended someone who is a successful investor, these influential people can be mentored. Okay, it's very easy for them to actually find people, the right people to help them to actually grow to become a better investor. So this is actually their pros, their ability to leverage on people, leverage on relationships. This one is actually quite crucial. All right. So that is actually the good thing in them. The cons is that because sometimes for these people, they tend to be more random, more spontaneous, more ad hoc, and very curious. So even if, let's say, you have a framework for them, they tend to go left, go right, go left, go right. They kind of like lack focus lah. And they can be people who are actually a bit more emotional. So that is actually something that they have to look out for. And the cons is that while they are very good in networking with people, so if they happen to find the right people, good. If they happen to find the wrong people, bad. So who you choose to listen to is very important for people who are of this trait. So for these people, it's better for them to actually find or build a team or belong in a community where this community they actually have the right moral principles, they have the right idea, right direction, they practice the right thing. So if they are actually belonging into that kind of community, I think it's a good idea for them. It's a good thing for them in their journey towards become a better investor. So these people, they need community. Okay. Steadiness. Steadiness are people who are conservative, patient, and they are very routine. So this is actually pretty good. Conservative is not a bad thing in investing. Conservative is a very good thing in investing. Okay. It is actually, you don't have to actually take a lot of risks in order to actually start to become profitable in investing. So being conservative, if you happen to be risk averse, you tend to actually do the defensive play, fine. All for it. It's a plus point for you in investing. If you happen to say, hey, I want to actually find a company which I think is actually safe to invest in, which I think it's financially steady, it is financially well-to-do, and I don't need to take risks in IPOs, I don't need to take risks in stocks that are burning lots of money. but yet starting the next big thing in the market, you don't have to go for all this. You go for all the safe and secure companies. Well and fine, okay? So this is actually your pros, your strength in investing. Now, the cons. This is actually for people who are a little bit more extreme. So people who are in this category, if they are too extreme about wanting safetyness, wanting security, what happens is that they may actually end up cash hoarding. Means I just want to hoard cash because there's some safety and security about hoarding cash. And because I like to hoard cash, I don't want to invest. So there are people like that. Their cons is also inaction, which means it takes a longer time for them to process things to actually get started in investing. And also, it also takes a much longer time compared to the other group of people in order to accept new ideas. So the key thing here for people who are steady is that it's okay. You don't need to actually win the race. Just take one step at a time, one baby steps at a single time. Before you know it, one step, you go from step 1 to step 2, step 2 to step 3, step 3 to step 4, and eventually you will get to the place where, hey, at the end of the day, there's a portfolio for you, which is of a good size. It's meaningful to your wealth. You will get there. So the thing to commit is not to say from 0 to 1 billion, from 0 to 500,000. You don't need to actually do that. You just say 0 to a few thousand. You get there, another few more thousand. You get there, just another few more thousand. That kind of thing, okay? So take one step at a time. No worries, all right? Now, last but not least, we have people who are concise. People who are concise, the pros is that they do thorough studies before investing. Very disciplined, very systematic, risk averse, always think about the downside more than the upside potential. This is actually pretty good. The cons is that analysis paralysis, analysis paralysis, which means to say they study a lot, did a lot of studies, but when it comes to pressing the button, should you buy or not? Should you sell or not? They just simply can't pull the trigger. They just can't press the button and just buy the stock or sell the stock. They kind of like, yeah, a lot of information, but I just cannot press it. That's a cons. The cons is also overly cautious and overly critical on mistakes. So these are people who tend to cry over spilled milk. All right, they tend to take it a lot harder than the rest of the group. So for people who are concise, I guess it's important to actually have rooms for error, exercise margin of safety. Life is not perfect, so accept it lah. Okay, life is not perfect. Just know that along the way there will be errors. It's okay to have errors. It's okay to have mistakes. Just be committed to the journey. Make sure that whenever mistakes, losses, errors, when they happen, we learn from it. But in order to prepare for it, make sure you have a wider margin of safety. Okay, just in case. Okay, so this is actually for people who are concise. Now, here are some key takeaways. So a lot of you, I do not know whether you guys are having fun or not for this session, but here are some key takeaways. From all your responses, you can actually take a look at each and every single one of each of our responses. So we can see that a lot of us, we are very different individuals. We are all very unique, okay? And because of our uniqueness, that's why we invest differently from one another. Okay, I will invest differently from you. You are gonna invest differently from Shane. Shane is gonna invest differently from the rest of the people. Okay, so everyone is gonna be very different. Now the key thing is here is that the whole exercise for this webinar session is to recognize, oh, what exactly is my own core attributes, and whether it's dominance, whether it's influential, whether it's steadiness, or whether it's being concise. Each and every single one of us have their pros and cons, but also we have to also be aware of the weakness part, which is the tough part, because who likes to actually recognize that, hey, I have a weakness, So do I. So do I. We are all human. We all like the strength part. But what about the weakness? But it is actually from being aware of the weakness and as well as the strengths. It comes in a package. So once we know this, then we can actually exercise mindfulness as to how we want to build our portfolio. Now, the best thing here is that what we can do, all right, for each and every single one of us is that we understand our own core strength. We also know our our weaknesses, all right, as part of the whole core behavior. But it's also important for us to also appreciate others, appreciate that other investors also have their own attributes that all of us can learn from. So which means to say, let's say I'm a concise person, I can learn from someone who is dominant. I can learn from someone who is influential. I can also learn from someone who is steady. I can learn about them, their pros and cons, and then I can actually refine. I can be more aware. I can train myself to be more refined in when it comes to investing. Okay. But the thing here is that it's not so much about replacing your own natural attributes in order to get to where you want. You want to embrace your own attributes. And then when it comes to your weaknesses or my weaknesses, make some minor adjustments here and there. And then from there, let's see whether or not we can actually work towards progress, work towards improvements. I believe that once we kind of like understand this, maybe lah, okay, hopefully we are more aware of ourselves, and hopefully together we can actually we can actually self-reflect, and from there build ourselves a better portfolio. So with that, that's it for this session. I guess I'm gonna pass back the control to Shane, and maybe we can do some fun Q&A together when it comes to this. Shane, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing with us all the different unique characteristics of the personality. Yeah. So if any question you want to ask our speaker, you may write them at the Q&A box. Okay, and we'll do our best to address all your questions.
Yep.
Today is less technical and more casual kind of presentation style.
Yes, yes, yes. It is. It is actually quite fun lah. All right. Any questions from anyone? How about Shane? How do you find the session so far? Are you playing along as well?
Entertaining. Okay.
Entertaining. Okay lah. So okay, so as we gather the questions, how about this lah? Actually, we can actually have a little bit of fun, right? How about this? Have you actually asked ChatGPT if you happen to be a dominant person, how would your portfolio look like? All right, so with that, I'm just going to show you how it works. So you can actually ask, let's say, ChatGPT, just for fun. Okay, just for fun. Nothing serious over here. So I'm gonna just ask. I'm gonna just ask a question. Say, let's say, uh, how would a person who has a dominant character or dominant behavior invest in stocks? Or how would his portfolio look like in Malaysia? Let's say, let's see what ChatGPT say. So it says here, a person with dominant behavior tends to be decisive, results-oriented, risk-tolerant, action-driven, right? So you can actually see that this is the trait, and this is how it impacts person lah. All right, how it can actually impact a person when it comes to investing. So if you happen to be very decisive, very fast-moving, so you tend to be very quick to act on opportunities, and you may not dwell long on analysis. That's what ChatGPT say. You can be goal-driven. Your risk tolerance very high because you are more willing to invest in higher volatility stocks and sectors. Competitiveness. You are someone who wants to like beat the market. You want to beat the next person because you want to you're born winner, so you want to win in the investment market. So that's your trait lah, all right? Control seeking, of course, you prefer to make your own decision lah. So you're the type that will rather make your own decision, live or die with it, rather than just hand your money over to the fund manager to actually decide for you. So your portfolio may look like something like this. Okay, so these are just some choices lah. Okay, this is actually from ChatGPT. Do not know how sure is that. So for stock types, you can see mid to large cap, may include some turnaround stocks, undervalued opportunities. Okay. Dividend preference, they prefer capital gains over stable dividends. Okay. My own sum, just in case. Okay. But typically, they tend to actually concentrate in growth sectors. Okay. And these people want to beat the markets, so they tend to avoid boring and defensive stocks. So these are the characters lah. Okay. All right. So this is actually the case for dominant personality. Now we just see how about the rest, huh? So let's see. Since we have lesser influentials, so why don't we just go with steadiness, huh? With steadiness behavior. We're just playing around, okay? Let's take a look what ChatGPT says. So we have a S-type personality. So you can see all the trademark. People who are patient, consistent, people who are risk averse, very relationship driven, routine based, that kind of stuff. So let's see. Stock types, you can see that for people who tend to be more S driven, which is steadiness, they tend to go with the word blue chip because it's big, it's well established, dividend paying stocks. So you see dominant personality, they like capital gains, they like capital growth, versus the people who are more steady, they tend to go with dividend paying stocks. Okay. They like to go with regular, reliable dividend income. They tend to have their portfolio heavily weighted in defensive sectors. Okay. Because it's perception of safety, security, stability, and all this kind of stuff. Okay. Number of holdings tend to be about a lot higher because they are very anxious about risks. Buy and hold, do nothing. Yes. So these are actually the kind of people. All right. This is actually how they will invest. Okay. So with that, we are going to move on to the final question. Okay. Because I don't find any influential. How many of you are of the influential kind of people? All right. If you are, then I will go on with that. But if not, let's see. Yeah, I just type in this, which is wrong. Let me just copy and paste my question again. Actually, there's a lot of things you can actually do with ChatGPT, but this is actually just more of a guide rather than more than what do you call more than how would I say the accuracy lah. All right. Sometimes when it comes to accuracy, you just take a pinch of salt lah. But otherwise, everything else should be okay. Because this word is actually too long, so just need to copy and paste this. Even I myself also find it difficult to pronounce this word. So anyway, let's see what does ChatGPT say. Okay. So you see, this is people who are more concise. This is how they work. Okay. Detail-oriented, analytical, cautious, disciplined, rule follow. Deeply studies financial statements, annual reports, valuation metrics. Yes. User spreadsheet. People who actually put their stocks in their spreadsheet. Yes. People who want to calculate financial ratios. Yes. So cautious because these people tend to play out multiple scenarios. They tend to avoid hypes and speculative stocks. Yes. Discipline, there's a process to follow, there's a plan to follow, there's a proven investing methodology to actually follow. So they tend to follow that. Okay. So this is actually what their portfolio might look like. It's just an example. And these are actually the reasoning lah. Okay, I'm gonna just close this and then I'm gonna just see what ChatGPT, what do you guys have to say lah? Okay, let's take a look and maybe we can have some conversation, huh? So Eugene says funny that ChatGPT recommend
Mm.
for concise people, completely opposite the way I invest. Yeah, so take it a pinch of salt lah, okay? It's not exactly accurate, it's just ChatGPT. I'm just doing it for fun lah. All right. I think there are some questions in
Yeah, I think
the Q&A.
Kennedy said that looks like your ChatGPT for steadiness reflects my current portfolios concentrating on blue chips and enjoy the consistent dividend payout. I like to outsource the fund managers. This is comment. So we have one question
True,
from
true,
Nick
true.
Xuan, who would like to ask, then how would you describe Warren Buffett? What type of personality is he?
What kind of personality? Good question. So I don't know. So I guess he has a rule. He has a rules to follow. I guess he has some sort of a logical thinking. He is actually very analytical. Of course we all do not know him in person, but he seems to have a rule book. He seems to have a rule book when it comes to investing. He has his own common sense and he has his own wisdom when it comes to this. So there's a lot of tendency, there's a lot of box tick when it comes to him being very concise, you know. I think so. I would say that out of this four, maybe that is actually the case. Him that could be his trademark, that his primary core, concise. Maybe the second one would be pretty towards steadiness. So he has this mix of being concise and as well as steadiness. I guess maybe that's why he owns stocks like Bank of America rather than all the tech stocks like Amazon. All right. So it depends on you look at his portfolio, then you kind of like know, oh, what sort of personality he is lah. If he's a dominant person, he will trade more often. He will have all kinds of funny stocks lah. Not just funny stocks. What I'm saying is that all those stocks where he thinks that it's gonna be like moonshots, you know, if I he will actually invest in a way that reflects something like a venture capitalist lah. Let's just bet and see whether it will fly or not, whether there's any alpha lah. But from Warren Buffett's portfolio, it doesn't seem that he's actually aiming for alpha anyway. He's just why don't you just why don't you just like buy something which is stable, steady, making money, already proven? Uh just just stick to the easy stuff when it comes to investing and it works. So that's why when people ask him, oh, if let's say you want to restart your whole investment journey again, how will you do it? Oh, just buy a low cost index fund or something like that. Just buy the whole market. So this is actually people who kind of like, this doesn't look like a dominant person to be lah. All right, this looks like people who just want some sort of stability, just want to get exposure to the market, and that's it. At least that's my take lah. I don't know. How about Shane?
I would
What do
think
you think
that
out of the four?
out of the four, Warren Buffett should be conscientiousness, right? Should be
Mm,
this trait lah. Okay, because Warren Buffett prioritize capital preservation. He
mm,
conducts deep analysis into any counters that he keen to take. He focus on the business, not the stock price. He has a systematic approach to buy stocks when they
mm,
are have a good growth catalyst, but at the same time can buy at a fair value. So I
mm.
guess the fourth trait may fit him better. Okay, although I also don't know him
I
personally, but from what I read about him, I guess he should be this type lah.
I
By the
believe
way,
so
it's
lah. I believe
conscience,
so.
not concise. Okay.
Conscious
Okay.
is it
Yeah. Yes. According to your slide, not from your study, not from my
okay.
study, according to the slide, right?
Okay. Okay lah. The pronunciation I also know. I also like struggle. How do I? Because I tend to have my tongue twisted occasionally. So I'm like, how do I pronounce this correctly? Anyway, it's already out
Yeah.
there. All right, let's move on.
Okay. So the next question from Laura is that would personality traits be different when it comes to investing in shares, derivative, cryptocurrency, or other products?
I believe so. But let's start with crypto lah. Okay. So guys, type in the chat box. In the chat box, who do you think are the type who will actually first go into crypto? Is it people who are dominant, or is it people who are influential? Maybe
The
because
first
it's
way
a
should
cool
be the
thing
risk
to
taker,
actually
right?
own
All the
crypto.
taker.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So who will actually be the first to go and get themselves a Bitcoin or any other coin lah? All right. You type in the chat box lah. Let me know who will be the one first jump into crypto lah. Okay, and who will be the last one lah? Okay, so you can from there you can actually see you see what exactly is their personality lor. So there are already people saying that should be the dominant trait, dominant trait. Eng Seng Hock says dominant trait. Yeah, so should be these people lor. The the people who actually tend to do the first mover advantage. These are the ones lor. Okay. So that's crypto, like shares. Okay. So we have people who want to do dividend investing and growth investing, right? So who do you think will do dividend investing? And who do you think will do growth investing? What kind of personality? Actually, from your behavior, you kind of like know lah. Okay. What sort of behavior that you're having right now? It tend to actually influence your decision making. There are actually more people who put in the chat box. So Shane, maybe we move on with the next one, I guess.
Yes, the next question is from Bahari Sulaiman. So, based on your experience, what sort of people end up being a trader? Is it someone who try to be, perhaps everyone trying to be one, and one need to have certain behavior or psychology? So, what is your view?
Trader. So trader, they want fast gains, right? So who likes fast gains? Who doesn't mind the volatility and who gets excited about who gets excited with making fast money, trading and get short-term gains? So you know that it's actually of a certain character, right? So people who are more gambler type, right? So it's actually people who are dominant. Dominant people tend to be very risk. They tend to react towards risk in a very different manner than people who are more stable. Okay, people who are more defensive. So of course, for traders, you more or less should have certain form of dominance in your character. That's your blood lah. All right. So if you are too conservative, I do not know how you are going to be a trader lah. Okay. Usually people who are trading, usually people who are more aggressive, who not just trade. How about trade with margin? How about trade with leverage? So these are people. How many people actually just they want to use the smallest amount of capital in order to actually trade and make it big. So I guess dominant lah. That would be the dominance will be the main answer lah for people who actually wanted to be a trader lah. They tend to have that sort, more or less they have that sort of DNA in them lah.
Hmm. So they lack excitement.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other question from the floor?
Yeah. Any other questions? So is it Eugene Wong? So I guess Eugene Wong has a question, right? It's like for people who are more conscious or concise. When it comes to buying and selling, just have a set of rules for buying and selling. Will it get rid of analysis paralysis? I hope so lah. All right, I hope so. What do you think, Shane?
Yep, I'm trying to understand.
Ah,
Yeah, I guess we all have our own set of rule when it comes to buying and selling.
mm-hmm,
Then when the criteria are met, then we just pull the trigger lah. Okay, whether it
mm,
is to buy or whether it is to sell,
mm-hmm,
then it won't cause analysis paralysis, right?
mm,
So we do our portfolio management well. We understand how much allocation we should set for certain sectors of the industry. So
mm,
once the stocks meet the investing criteria, then we
mm.
just pull the trigger. And once the stock reach the selling criteria, then we just pull the trigger. So I guess I think Eugene's suggestion is pretty good.
Yeah, that works. That works well. Anything that helps to pull the trigger lah, just get you on board lah. All right, that will
Mm,
actually be helpful.
yeah. So now that we more or less know our own investment traits, so what
Mm-hmm.
kind of investment style should one follow?
Mm.
Should we follow dominant trait or we combine with others? So there's a question by Kennedy.
You see, every single trade, they have their own pros and cons. So if you already know your trade, like for example, your trade is to be steady, right? Steadiness is also they have a lot of trade, a lot of good qualities to be a good investor. So first is to embrace the good lah, the good side, the good characters, the good behaviors that you already possess, because this is actually something that is you're natural with, all right? You're born with it. If you're born to be risk averse, you're born to be conservative, don't just throw away that. Embrace it. Make it your core as a make it your core value when it comes to building your portfolio. So I don't believe that today you're not dominant. Wow, today you don't look like a boss. You don't look like you're a leader. You can decide this, that. Wow, you're very confident. It's a you don't have that is a bad point. It's not that. First, find out what exactly you are good at. Second, you just need to know that you have certain weaknesses. Then, and if let's say you agree to certain weaknesses, then you just say, okay, maybe I should learn from another group of people how they deal with it, and then make small little adjustments just to complement with yourself. Complement, or you just kind of like learn. Okay, I'm a dominant person. I think I want to slow down. Okay, then I learn why slow down is good for my portfolio. Or if you have analysis paralysis, they say, how is it that at the end of the day, um, mistakes are there to actually help us become better investors? Uh, why is it important that we have to accept that out of 10 investment, there will be one, there will be one that might not actually work. Might not lah. All right. Of course, if we can get perfect 10 out of 10, that would be great. But if let's say out of 10, maybe 8 works, 2 don't, and the 8 works better or a lot more than the 2 that is not working, then that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. So you kind of like make small little adjustments along the way, but make sure you embrace your core lah. I think that one is actually very important.
Mm. But I also think that our personality may change
Mm,
from time to time, right? For instance, when I was younger, I tend to take a lot more risks, right? I may be a more dominant style, okay?
mm-hmm.
Take a lot more risks, okay?
Uh-huh.
When as the capital grows, then suddenly the ball string already, okay? So now have to be more capital preservation list lah, okay? Protect the capital. So we also stick to a very strict risk management rule, okay?
Mhm,
Don't risk how many percent of our capital on a certain exposure.
mhm.
So now I'm a bit more conscientiousness kind of personality lah. Okay, so I think as we age and as our capital size grows, as we've gone through the market experience, my observation is that the personality may change. Okay,
Ah,
what do you think?
yeah, it would. That's the process of growing up, right? So initially you start off with something, but as time goes by, we kind of like experience certain things. And because we experience certain things, we become a refined person. So let's take it out of a little bit out of context. Like for example, let's say you're a dominant person. You like fast efficiency, you want results, and then you go to the workforce, and then you somehow work with people who are none of that. And then you become very frustrated because why so slow? Why this person this? Why did that person that? And then you kind of like feel frustrated in your workplace. And then you kind of like reflect and then say, okay, calm down. I guess it's more helpful. It's more how would I say? It's more beneficial for me to actually improve my communication so that I can exercise a little bit more empathy. I can actually work with people who are not like me, but then we get things done. And that seems to be the better way to actually get things done quicker rather than just hopping on why so slow, right? So I guess that is actually a part of that's the process lah, all right, of how to work with people with different personalities. I guess that's just one way lah. So investing is also the same thing lah. Actually, uh, it's like initially when you're young, you don't think too much, you go for it. Some people actually like do that lah, like do what you say lah. I got this amount of capital, let's go for it. No commitment, no regrets, right? Just go for it. But some people tend to be on the other side of the spectrum, a bit more conservative. Say, oh yo, I think I better just keep my cash in the bank. I better open FD. I don't want to do any investment because investment is risky. Then slowly the ones who are more aggressive, they tend to, oh, I should be more conservative. Then the conservative one will say, oh, actually, if I just put my money in FD, my money is gonna rot because of inflation. It's time for me to actually step up a bit, learn more, uh, and just be a little bit more uh, of that risk taking, just taking more volatility in exchange for greater gains and those kind of stuff. So you kind of like progress through life one lah. And because of that, maybe there's a slight refine in terms of your character, of your behavior lah. That one I agree lah. But somehow can a dominant person be a very be totally transformed into someone who is steady? I don't know. So I guess each and every single character, right? We can actually learn. We can actually like initially I'm dominant, so I'm gonna put on another hat. I guess all these are learned behavior lah.
Yep. So let's do one last question from Joseph Chandrasekaram.
Uh,
What would a dominant person do during market crash, and what would a conscientious person do during a market crash?
the dominant one, like uh if they want to flip it, just snap a finger and make decision. It's either they hold or they sell lah, right? So it's fast action, right? It's fast decision, quick fast decision and get over with it. For people who are more concise, they want to see, oh, what are the causes of the market crash? Why the market crash? Why the stock price drop? Is it because of fundamentals? Is it because of valuation? Is it because of external events? What sort of things have actually caused it? Then from the root cause of it, if it's fundamentals, then can it be helped? Can it be salvaged? Or is it just is it permanent? Or is it temporary? Then the questions go on and on, right? So as the questions go on and on, what does people who are more concise do? They just hold on first, as they are processing the thing. But for people who are more dominant, they just say, screw it, let's just sell and get over with it. That kind of thing. So I guess it's because of that. One tends to react more quickly. The other one tends to prolong. Just sleep a few days, sleep a few nights before they finally come to a conclusion. I think that's the case lah. What do you think, Shane?
All right. Well, I also think more or less the same. All right. So we have run out of time for the Q&A. So thank you everybody for joining us in this session where we discuss different kind of personalities, how would they invest differently. All right.
Uh-huh.
So thank you so much, Ian, for sharing with us in this topic.